more casual, as you can see. So I'm just going to talk to you, give you some great information, talk about what to eat, what not to eat, and we'll give you some great secrets and tips on how to be healthy, lose weight, handle the hormones, feel better than you have probably ever before or in a very long time. So let's get into it. We're talking again about the 5 secrets. There's several secrets. We're talking about the 3 key secrets. So what to eat. Last week we talked about the first secret, which was carbohydrates, and this week we're going to be talking about the second secret on what to eat, and this has to do with chemicals. So here we are. So what to eat, what not to eat. Oh, where you guys can read it, had it backwards. So practicing my Da Vinci skills here. So what to eat. So we're going through the 3 C's. We first talked about carbohydrates. This week we're going to talk about chemicals in food. And it's a lot more complex than you might think because, you know, like, okay, yeah, chemicals are bad, so what? Or somebody might tell you you eat organic. And yes, you definitely need to eat organic. But let's talk about the details and why we want to go through the trouble of avoiding chemicals in our foods. Because for the most part, again, secrets on what to eat, it's more important what not to eat than actually what to eat. And we'll talk about that at the end, but for right now, we're talking about what not to eat. So here we're going to get into it, and we're going to be talking about how these chemicals are bad, why these chemicals are bad, and what they're doing to you, and how they're contributing to, again, your weight problems, your hormone problems, and your overall health or lack thereof. So what we have here is first, let's talk about what examples of chemicals are we talking about here. And one of them, do you know that there's antifreeze in your food? So last time I checked, antifreeze belongs in my car, but not in my food. So let's talk about that. Now, where is it and why is it used? So antifreeze is used as a cooling agent. That's why you use it in a car for your air conditioning unit. But it's also used in foods to keep foods cold. So commercial restaurants use it, fast food chains use it, ice cream manufacturers make it, but they don't call it antifreeze on the label. That's the secret. So you have to take a look at those words that you can't pronounce on your ice cream and your frozen products. And one of those, actually, if you looked it up, actually means antifreeze. And it's the equivalent biochemically and chemically in the antifreeze world. So next time, moms watching and all of you, you know, it's summer. You want to go and have the pool party and the kids are all jumping around and having a good time swimming. And you go into the freezer and you grab out those rainbow pops and somebody takes a red and somebody takes a green, somebody takes a blue, et cetera, et cetera. And then what are you doing? You're basically giving them antifreeze pops. So think about that next time you see either your kid is getting one and or you're passing them out. It's just like, woohoo, frozen antifreeze for everyone. So again, chemicals in foods can really cause problems. So sugar, you know, our refined carbohydrates, the things that are really bad, we already know they're bad, but it's these hidden sources of chemicals in these foods on top of it. So in those little popsicles, if the high fructose corn syrup wasn't enough, it'll definitely get you with the antifreeze. So one source, one example. The next example is arsenic. So do you know that the FDA actually allows a certain amount of these poisons to be in your food? There's, quote, acceptable levels. Last time I checked, there wasn't an amount of antifreeze and or arsenic that was correct for me in my body. I thought it was 0, but apparently not according to some government sources. And arsenic, interestingly enough, 2 of the most common places it's used. First and foremost, it's used as a preservative. And the 2 most common sources are rice and chicken. So some people ask, is like, well, should I really go through the trouble of the extra expense of the chicken that's organic or free range, cage-free, eggs, chicken, etc.? And the answer is yes, because what commercial manufacturers are using in chicken, they use it as a preservative to keep the chicken fresh. They use arsenic, and they're also using it in rice. So I have people coming in, new patients, and during my body analysis, we test them for different heavy metals and chemicals. And I'm like, you have arsenic. And they're like, well, where would I have gotten arsenic poisoning from? And well, there's several different sources, but one of the things I always ask is, are you eating a lot of chicken and rice? So again, quality matters, and you have to start taking a look at some of these hidden sources in your foods. Now, overall, the most common source of where these chemicals are found are hidden on the label. So that's why you don't know it's there, and that's why you don't know you're eating it. So you're flipping over the box or whatever, and you're like, it doesn't look too bad, I can have this. But where they're hiding these things is in the keywords where it says natural and artificial flavors on the label. Because based on FDA regulations years ago, these food manufacturers got their permission to not have to put these chemicals on the actual label. So anytime you see that little asterisk or it says natural and artificial flavors, but when you flip it over, you can't really see it or tell, it's hidden in there. So natural and artificial flavors are the key sources of where you're getting exposed to chemicals in your food. So one of the secrets to what to eat, what not to eat, hormones, weight loss, etc., is getting out these chemicals and being a better label reader and not eating anything that has natural and artificial flavors written on the label. Now, next one is where else are they coming from? Because a lot of my people, my patients, etc., they come to me, they're like, Dr. Lori, I eat pretty healthy, but I don't feel as healthy as I want to be, or I have symptoms, etc., etc. And I'm like, okay, first, we're still going to look at the diet. But secondly, one of the most common hidden sources of all of these chemicals are in your water. So I have here a brochure, and this is from the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. I know it's backward on your screen, but in this 7-page report here, it says all of the 7 pages worth of acceptable levels of poisons and toxins that are allowed in your water. So one of the key sources is quality of the water. So when you're talking about what to eat, it's not only foods, it's also what you drink. So the number one source of these pollutants, chemicals, heavy metals, even radioactive materials. So I was reading through the list here, and beryllium is on the list, and strontium is on the list. And let me see, there's a for uranium. So do you know, according to the EPA, there are acceptable levels of these radioactive materials that are allowed in your drinking in your tap water. So when people ask, well, how bad is it that I really drink out of the tap, or I shower with the tap water, or I use the water fountain at the school or gym, or etc. And in my opinion, pretty bad, because again, I'm asking you, according to you, what is your acceptable level of beryllium, uranium, strontium, arsenic, cadmium? So mine, in my universe, 0. Yours, you might have a different answer. EPA has their own set of answers, and I think they're just way too much. So one of the key sources of these chemicals that you're in eating, drinking, etc., coming from good old tap water. And then you also have these companies. So your pre-made drinks, you know they're not using filtered water. So whether your soft drink or your tea drink or whatever the case may be that comes pre-packaged in a can, a bottle, etc. Remember, watch out for things that say natural and artificial flavors, because that's where they're hiding the chemicals in the food item and or the drink. And then considering probably the low quality water they're using to make this drink. So you're getting the double whammy. And then on top of that, it's probably filled with high fructose corn syrup. So you're getting a triple whammy. So I'm really against, and I try and tell my people not to drink anything except for water, because it's such a waste of your calories and your carbohydrates by drinking a can of anything, basically. So unless it's naturally sugar-free, it's just a good black tea, a seltzer water, etc. Don't drink your health away, not only in the form of alcohol, but also with low-quality sugary drinks with artificial flavors in and hidden chemicals on the label. So we have the waters, that's an issue. Just so you have a little bit of a taste, those of you who are local who are watching Tampa Bay, what I did is I found a list of the most common toxins in our area water. So let me just grab that. And so just so you have an idea of what's in your water. So this you can go online and do some government research. I just did my local area. So this is kind of the Tampa Bay. It's Clearwater area, Pinellas County, Hillsborough County. These are the most common chemicals in our water. So you have, and then by the way, when they just test it. So if you were literally to go and take a water sample at your child's school or the water fountain at work, this is what would be in the water that's just sitting there. So think about that when you drink the company coffee. So the most common ones that are in most sources here in the Tampa Bay area, we have aluminum, arsenic, barium, beryllium, chlorate, chromium, something called cis-1,2 dichloroethylene, cyanide, there's one, that's a good one, fluoride, manganese, molybdenum, chlorobenzene, nitrates, nitrites, radium, selenium, silver, strontium, and trihalomethanes, known as TTHMs, but just bad chemicals is what that means, uranium and vanadium. So these are the top chemicals here in our local tap water. And you can go online and check your local area as well. But water, one of the keys for where these poisons and chemicals, so what not to eat, also includes what not to drink. So tap water and any water fountains, drinks in restaurants, etc., even at work, whatever the case may be, the gymnasiums, I wouldn't be drinking the water. Okay, good. Now, the second part of water is not only is the water bad, but also the actual bottle makes things actually worse. And where that comes into play is when you drink these bottled waters, everybody thinks they're being more healthy because like, oh, well, I don't drink tap water. I only drink bottled water. I'm like, yeah, it's not much better. First, most of these water bottle companies use tap water, and so it's not exactly as filtered as they'd like you to believe. And secondly, if that's not bad enough, what they do in order to kill some of the things in the water is they boil the water. So the manufacturing companies, we won't mention any by name, they take the water, they boil it, they create the plastic bottles, and then they put the water in the bottle hot. Now, if anybody watching knows anything about chemistry, physics, etc., when you put a hot substance into a plastic or any other kind of gaseous, vaporous, organic, inorganic substance, what does that hot water do? It starts melting it or boiling the actual container or capsule or whatever the container is. And so what you're looking at here is if the water was even good, once it reacts to the plastic bottle, it now immediately starts leaching these plastics into the water. And then it cools down and then you drink it. So awesome. So you're getting toxic water that's been boiled, and now there's additional toxins in there in the form of plastics. So why are these plastics so bad? Well, for all of you ladies that are watching, here's why this is a major issue, is these plastics, also known as microplastics, when they're ingested into the female body, men as well, but more women, they get broken down and turn into a different substance biochemically once they hit the stomach acid, and then they turn into these like kind of microplastics, and they're smaller, and that's what micro means. Now, the problem is that when they get broken down, they look just like the female estrogens. So here you are thinking that possibly you're going through menopause, or you're having a difficult time going through a menopause, you're getting the hot flashes, even not menopause. Maybe you're younger and you're having menstrual cycle irregularities. You're having trouble getting pregnant. Anything that has to do with, quote, estrogens or hormones, it actually might not be an estrogen hormonal problem at all. These plastics look just like the molecular structure of estrogen. They're like one little dot or strand off from looking exactly like these estrogens. So they're very confusing to the body. So they will cause premature menopause, premature peri and pre-menopause. They will cause hormonal irregularities. So a lot of times when you're trying the hormone replacement and it's not working, it's probably because it's not even, quote, truly a hormonal situation. So again, not only foods that are bad for you just due to the quality, high sugary foods, drinks, etc., we're talking here about chemicals. So in your foods and in your drinks and in the bottle of what you drink. Also, in keeping with food, it's also these plastics will be leached out when you microwave food in plastic containers. So again, all of those, maybe drinking, a water bottle that you bought for your lunch, and then you're bringing your lunch to work to try and save money, but then you're microwaving that at work in the plastic container, you're getting even more plastics. So again, what to eat actually usually comes down to more what not to eat as opposed to what to eat. Because once you get all the bad things out, it becomes pretty obvious what you're supposed to eat. So again, the plastics, the water bottles, that's a big no-no. Okay, good. So the next thing is now why is it a problem? So besides the hormonal component that I just gave you, why are these things so dangerous? And now you're like, oh, Dr. Lori, doesn't my body just filter them out and get rid of them? And the answer is, to a large degree, no, they don't. What happens is that these poisons are, they're toxic in their molecular structure. And because they're foreign to the body can't take a look at it and be like, oh, this is like a cheese molecule, so let me go take that off and metabolize it out. It looks at it and it's like, I've never seen this molecule before. What do I do with it? So the body gets very creative. So one thing it does is that sometimes it has no choice. So just imagine in your brain and in your heart and in your pancreas and on your nerve endings and in your capillaries and your cardiovascular system, imagine that there's these like little holes, like little docking sites. So that kind of like a boat. So if you had a boat and you wanted to bring it to shore, you have to go find a docking site. You have to find one that's open. Of course, there's already a boat there. You can't go there. Well, these molecules are similar, that you purposely have docking sites in your body where nutrition, nutrients, hormones are supposed to attach to. So you have the docking site, let's say, and then let's say you want, this is an ovary, and you want an estrogen or progesterone molecule to come by, and you do want there. So you want that to kind of attach to the docking site. Now, if these plastics come along, and this is a molecule, kind of looks like one of these microplastics, kind of sort of looks like the estrogen, but it's actually not, the ovary gets tricked and thinks, oh, that's estrogen, or that's progesterone, or whatever that is, and like, oh, grab onto it. But then the problem becomes is that it's actually not. This is a microplastic. And the ovary is now, uh-oh, we shouldn't have grabbed onto that, should we? And now it's too late. Because the ovary is not designed to help push it off. It has no idea that it wasn't the right thing to begin with. Now, these docking sites are everywhere. They're in your pancreas. So you have too many chemicals, plastics, low-quality foods stuck on these docking sites in the pancreas. Guess what that leads to? Diabetes. If you have these docking sites in your brain and the chemicals come along, and instead of this being dopamine or melatonin or serotonin or any of those good happy hormones that make you a happy person and help you sleep. So let's say this bad chemical comes along. This is the brain tissue. This is a nerve. And then you put it on the docking site and it latches on. Now you have, again, a chemical here instead of the hormone. So what do you think these chemicals are going to do when you're talking about symptoms? So if I have chemicals attached to my brain tissue, my nerve endings, my little docking sites, instead of my actually nutrition, B vitamins, calcium, magnesium, etc., don't you think you might be a little moody, cranky, irritable, brain fog, dementia, Alzheimer's? Don't you think all of these things possibly could be that I have poisons stuck to the tissues on these docking sites instead of the proper nutrition? Well, of course. It'll do the same thing in the hormonal system, the same thing in the brain, and anywhere in the body where you have these kind of, quote, docking sites where things are supposed to attach. So this is why they are such a problem. And because they're not true by design organic material or things that are second nature to a body, the body doesn't know how to get rid of it. It doesn't know what to do with beryllium. It's like, what is this in here? I don't know what to do with this. It doesn't know why there's so much arsenic coming in. So in small amounts, the body can recognize it as a foreign substance and eliminate it. But to the magnitude that we're eating it in our foods, it can't get rid of that much that often. So again, you're looking at low quality foods that say natural and artificial flavors on the label. Anything that's coming in a plastic container or a plastic bottle, any of these low quality drinking waters, and all this junk food in general. So let's talk about now a second part of this, these chemicals, and there's things called, as you know, these fake fats or trans fats, and they're used in low quality food items because they're cheap to make. Now, let me just ask you something. Let's say you were hungry and you came over to my house and, like, hey, Dr. Lori, I'm a little hungry. May I have a snack? And I said to you, why, sure, here, I have this plastic cup. Why don't you chew on that? Wouldn't you think I'm completely crazy? Of course you would. You'd be like, why are you giving me a cup to eat? Well, you're eating plastic cups and you don't even realize it. So these trans fats, these fake fats, these margarine type substances, and these butter alternatives all are just literally, now listen up, literally one chemical reaction away from being the container they can't come in and or the plastic. So don't they all come in plastic containers? So the next time you want to go eat those trans fats and those oily chips made in that mystery fluid, or you're at the carnival or the fair, just realize all they did was melt down this plastic cup and then fry your food item in that. So all of these fats are literally one chemical step away from being the plastic container they come in. So next time you think about having that, think about me offering you a plastic cup as a snack if you come to visit my house. All right. The next thing that they'll do now, by the way, with these fats is because these are foreign fats, these are not natural fats, what they will do is they will jam up your liver, and then they'll contribute to fatty situations. So your high cholesterol could actually be due to a chemical problem with these fake fats. It may be a dietary component, it may be other things, but one of the things for tonight's lecture, what we're talking about, is it could be the chemicals in your food. So the problem is that when your body has these toxins, it needs to store them somewhere because it doesn't exactly know, again, how to kind of chip it away or get it off once it's attached to this docking site. So when the body doesn't know what to do with it or can't excrete it out correctly in the bowels and the bladder, one of the things it'll do to protect you is it'll store it in the fatty tissue. So, I'm having trouble losing weight and I'm starving myself and I'm literally on the no food diet and I can't lose weight. Why might that be? Because you have toxins stuck in the fatty tissue. And there's no amount of out of starvation, there's no amount of a low cal, low carb, any kind of diet that's going to melt open that plastic and or that fat cell and let the plastic come out or the chemicals of the poisons come out. Now, the body is smart and won't open up that fatty tissue. Why? Because it knows there's a poison in there. And the body's in there going, we are not opening up that fat on her thighs because we know all of this arsenic, all this beryllium is going to come flying out and we didn't want it in our body the next time, so we are not going to allow her to lose any weight. So this is what's being missed, is the chemical component to weight loss. These chemicals, these fats as well, they also lead to something known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Why? Because your liver can't metabolize these things. Your liver, to a large degree, is your body's filter. It does 2 phases of key detoxification processes to go get out most of the problems and chemicals, poisons, foods, etc. that you do in a day. But it's not designed to go through and handle all of these trans fats and all these chemicals and all these poisons in your water. It's never been exposed to as much as it is in modern day. So the liver thought here and there little poisons or problems were going to come along, but not to the magnitude, not in the amount or the weight that we're eating in the low quality foods that we're eating. So it'll lead to a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and then it'll also lead to fatty deposits, cellulite, problems with losing weight. And then also what it'll do is it'll store these things in the fatty tissues other than those areas, because it's just a safe kind of place to put these things. Now, here's the problem. Where else do we have these fatty tissues? Well, the female sex organs and the male sex organs are both a lot amount of fat. It's why we're seeing a higher incidence of all of these sexual related organ cancers. And then also the breast tissue. So a lot of times these things are, why did I get cancer? Or why do I have a problem? And a good percentage of it is coming from the poisons in your food. The chemicals that had been stored there or are being stored there for year after year after year will lead to this chemical toxicity in the body that the body does not know how to get rid of. Okay, good. So now what can you do about it here is I would recommend going to a website, and it is called, there you go, ewg.org. This is the Environmental Working Group, and what's really awesome about this website is they have all of the list of the things we had talked about here tonight. All the chemicals, all the sources, where they come from, how to avoid them. I would also go to that website and sign up for their newsletter, because as new information comes out between government regulations, what's happening in the food industry, even cosmetics. So cosmetics are really bad. That's a whole other lecture we're going to be doing, is why not to use any commercial fragrance and any commercial cosmetic product is, again, about 99% of it is pure poison. These chemicals and poisons we're talking about can also get absorbed through the skin. So it's not just through the mouth or orally, which, again, for the what to eat tonight is mostly, but it also goes through the skin. The other great thing about this website, go and download their app. So go do, again, it's EWG. Go download the EWG app on your phone, and then what they also have is a little scanner thing. So if you want to know while you're in the store if the thing that you want to buy is good or how would it score on the EWG's scale, you can just scan it in and then you can take a look. And or you can currently go around your house now. I would get a garbage can, by the way, and as you go around and scan the different barcodes on your items in your house, you're going to see how they score on the EWG website. So it's not always about food. It's not always always the quantity of the food you're eating, as we had talked about with carbohydrates. A good portion of your health situation on what to eat versus what not to eat has to do with the quality. So we're talking about getting out the chemicals. So you have the EWG website. That's a really good one. Again, sign up for their newsletter as well. And, we have to do a lot of detox in my practice. So a lot of times patients ask, why do your programs take so long? It's like, well, now that you see all of these toxins that we have to get out, this is going to take a while. And these toxins, because again, they're stored and hidden away in fatty tissues, and they're kind of like under lock and seal. Some of them take as long as 6 to 9 months to eliminate, and some of them never kind of detox. Actually, what ends up happening is I can't get it out with any kind of detox either you can do or I can induce between the therapies that I do in the practice. A lot of times we just have to wait for that cell to literally die and with the poisons in it and let the bowels and the bladder kind of excrete it during, your elimination. So some of it you actually can't get out until that particular cell dies. So this is why this is such a dangerous situation, is that you just don't put it in and it's all out by the next day. It can be stuck in there, lodged in there for decades sometimes. So to get it out, you have to do it gradually, by the way, because if it all came out at once, it would kill you. So some of it has to come out slow, and some of it never comes out until those poor cells finally die off and new ones are made. So it explains a lot of your health situations and what to eat and then what not to eat, again, from these low quality foods. A few more things for you to take away here is, now that you know what not to eat is these low quality foods, where most of these natural and artificial preservative foods and all of the flavors in these natural artificial flavoring foods and all these junk foods, chemicals that are getting you in trouble, guess where they are in the grocery store? They're in the middle. So what do you want to do is shop the outer circle on your grocery store. Most of them are square, the outer rectangle. I would skip over the pastry section, but besides that, eat foods that are, quote, real foods, where there aren't any trans fats in them, where there aren't any natural or artificial flavors or chemicals or preservatives in them for the most part. Basically, around the outside of your grocery store is the real food. So stay to shopping around the real food. Buy only chemical-free foods. So doesn't have to necessarily be organic, but at least just chemical-free, that they didn't add anything into it. So just buy organic food, natural food, real food, for a lack of a better way to put it. So if it used to grow or be alive of some sort, whether that's plant or animal-based, it's at least less contaminated. And then the better you can do with the quality of your few food items, even around the outer circle, it would be a good place to start. And again, avoiding just overall anything made with tap water, drinking water, having your water tested, considering getting a water filtration system. These are all things you can do. So what I want you to do, your homework assignment, is to start leading towards a chemical-free life, because it is going to take a while and it is kind of expensive the first time you do it to start throwing out all of these items and replacing them. Once it becomes habit, it's not so bad. But whether these are food chemicals or chemicals in your cosmetics, your lotions, and the other hidden source, by the way, as long as we're just talking about chemicals in general, are these fragrances, perfumes you're wearing, and then also these plug-ins and these candles. You are killing yourself with all of the chemicals. So you're breathing it in, you're drinking it, you're eating it. Your body, again, was never designed to have to handle this many chemicals in a 24-hour day as it is right now. So cleaning up your water, trying to eat chemical-free foods, not shopping in the middle of the store where all of the artificial flavors and all of the trans fat food items are, not having those plug-ins in your walls, not having candles lit. If you're going to do candles, they have to be organic, soy-based, made with the real essential oils, etc. And then finally, all of these fragrances that you're using in all of your detergents, laundry detergents, dish detergent, hand soaps, etc. So you, when you really take a look and you see how many fake smells, poisons, chemicals, and toxins you're really being exposed to on a daily basis, you will not be so surprised why you have the health situations that you do. So we're here to talk about what to eat, but again, it starts kind of drizzling over into your life as well. So the more chemical-free life you can, lead, the better off you will be. So shop the Outside Circle, buy only chemical-free foods, join the EWG.org family and get their newsletter, and avoid anything that looks kind of fake or has suspicion it might be chemicals. So thanks again for watching our webinar here tonight. Good luck on your chemical-free life journey. It's going to take a while. It'll take you several months actually to get it all out, but it'll be totally worth the effort. So thanks again for watching and have a great night.